Welcome to the Turning Lemons into Lemonade podcast. Each week, your host, Amy Mewborn, business strategist and advisor, will bring you the stories of how successful women entrepreneurs turn their tragedies into triumphs to create the businesses that are changing the world today. And now, your host, Amy Mewborn.
Board certified in holistic nutrition, a childhood leukemia survivor, and a mother of three, Tonya Harris is the founder of Slightly Greener, offering busy moms simple and doable solutions to reducing toxins one product at a time. Tanya has been writing about toxins and their health effects since 2008, and in addition to board certification and a master's degree in holistic nutrition, she holds multiple certificates in the environmental health field. When she's not busting toxic products or explaining why you can keep your favorite mascara, Tanya is raising money for her organization, Clubs to Cure Kids, from which she has donated over $160,000 for childhood cancer research and family support programs. This episode is a lot of fun, and we're going to do a lot of laughing, so I can't wait for you to hear it.
Welcome, Tonya Harris. Thank you so much for being here today. You and I know each other personally through a number of our groups. So I want you to tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got started in your business.
Okay, well, I actually think that I started my business 36 years ago. It's really how I like to think of it. So, I am a childhood leukemia survivor, and I just think that that is a huge reason why I started my business. So long story short, I was diagnosed in 1982, right before my 7th birthday. So I had always been really careful about, or told to be careful about what I eat, and I kind of was careful about what I used on my body, but not really, because I didn't really think about it so much. Fast forward, I started having kids, and I was using everything formulated for babies because I was thinking, okay, if it's formulated for a baby, it's safe. Turns out not the case, but in 2006, I believe, is when I got the first phone call from school because my son was exhibiting attention issues, which I had noticed at home, but there was just something in me. I don't know exactly why, but I just asked for more time so I could go home and research and try to figure out what could be causing these symptoms. So went home, Googled the heck out of things, which probably wasn't as easy back in 2006. So, did a lot of research, took a few things out of his diet, went back to the school for the follow-up appointment, and they no longer saw the need to test him. So I was super hooked. I was like, okay, took some preservatives out and some artificial colors. Went back to school because I was like, okay, I really want to be able to help parents with this stuff. I mean, it really seemed to work. And then my daughter, when she was in 3rd grade, and this was a little later, this was 2012. Okay. So I had already been back to school. Got another phone call, not loving school phone calls. This one was about, they wanted to test her for learning disabilities. And I didn't ask for more time on this one because my background is teaching. I went to school and got a degree in elementary education, which I really didn't use. So probably some lessons there too. But so I really dug in really deep because I'm like, okay, I wonder if what worked for the attention issues, even though I can't cure things and I didn't cure his ADHD, but I lessened the symptoms, what can I do for my daughter? So I got my master's in holistic nutrition. So like I said, my first degree was in elementary education. Yeah. But I guess it always comes back to the kids, but I went on to become board certified in holistic nutrition because I really wanted to understand what food and chemicals can do to our bodies, because the more research I did after my son's issues, the more I realized things weren't what they seem. There's toxins hiding in products. So I opened a store in 2008, actually, or an online store, because I kept telling my husband, I'm so tired of these labels and these things saying there's something they're not. I really wanted a safe place for parents to come and get truly safer products. So I vetted all these ingredients. I did a ton of research, and it really helped being in school for that, where I sold only natural and organic products that were truly safer online that I had carefully vetted.
Wow. So, and are you still selling those?
Nope. I closed that actually in, so this is kind of a weaving road. I closed that in.
They all are, aren't they? As entrepreneurs, that's kind of the story, is that we start somewhere and we're like, oh, I think there's a need to go here. And that's what we do.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, it was a failure, and it was doing pretty well. I was blogging too at the same time and getting some attention. So that was awesome. But I closed it in 2010 because I wanted to go back to school. It was 11. Somewhere in there, 2010, 2011, maybe even after, I'm not sure. I wanted to go back to school and make everything official, and I got a really exciting job opportunity to work for an organization in holistic nutrition. So like that carried me through to here too. So it's just a whole bunch of different things that I think brought me to this point. So
tell me, where is the future of your business going?
Oh, it is.
I know that's a loaded question because I know you. So.
Yeah. Exactly. So which answer do we want? I think really where I'm angling right now is a book.
Okay.
So I had an online program. I'm not selling that currently because I just want to get this information out to parents the best I can. And my ultimate goal is a book so that I can get this information into the hands of as many people as possible, so they have kind of a solid piece of something to always refer back to, because toxins are a huge topic. And all the nutrition stuff I've done, I still love all that, but I really think toxins are the missing piece. So everything I've done in the past keeps leading me back to this. Yeah. So I think a book is really the big thing I want to do this year even.
So the thing about you and your business is that your business, to you, really, you have some other business and entrepreneurial endeavors as a family. So right now, this is a huge passion project, and you're putting a lot of your own time, your own money, a lot of things into putting out resources for other people without necessarily the primary goal being monetization. And, you know, it's really funny because as business owners, we always have the choice. We can focus on making money. Mm-hmm. We can focus on doing good, or we can figure out how to put those together. And one of the things that I know of you right now is that you're really focusing on how to put those together. And I always think of like Stu McLaren talking so much about all of the work that he does so he can make an impact on the world. Right. And you're kind of going in that all-encompassing way as well, in that everything that you're doing, you do a ton of Facebook Lives, you do a ton of free content, and it's really all just to better all of the health of those around you, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree completely with the Stu McLaren thing, because I heard that on a podcast too, and it totally changed my mindset on money. Mm-hmm. Because the more assets we have, the more money we have, the more we can put out into the world. And I've noticed that a lot too, with even just sinking my own money into, I feel like I'm using my money to get my message out more. Yeah. And I think investing in ourselves too, in our businesses, is one of the best things we can do. It was so scary at first, because I remember one of the very first programs I invested in, I was like, more than I had ever spent, and I was like, oh my God, am I even ready for this? So I really just think that investing in ourselves and our networks, and the more we can bring good to people, because we can get our message out more to the masses. Yeah. And, I have an organization on the side too that I raise money for. And so I just think there's so many things we can do once I'm not sure how to say that, but once we have kind of the platform and the means to do it. So, now that there's Facebook Lives and there's so many social media channels, there's so many opportunities now that we have that we didn't have before, that, I feel so lucky that we're able to do this.
So tell me about the organization that you have and what it does.
Oh, okay. Well, it's something that I started in 2007. I did it to celebrate my 25-year anniversary as being a childhood cancer survivor. And it was supposed to be a one-time event because it was a golf outing. And I have no clue how to golf. No idea. I don't know why I picked that, but I chose it. It was supposed to just be a one-time thing, but ended up The net profits that day were $25,000, which I had not even planned on. And it was such a fun event because I like to take these heavy topics too and kind of turn them more fun. So one of the things we did on the course that I just have to say because I love it is we had hole number 1. The golfers have to hit from the ladies' tee. Mm-hmm. But if they want to hit for free from the ladies' tee, they had to dress as a woman. So we went and we got like all these dresses from like Goodwill and like the backs open, you know, so they had to dress up. And at first the people were like, oh, no, here's just $5, you know, because it's a fundraiser. By the end of the day, they were paying $5 and dressing as a woman and putting hats on and purses and teeing off. So, I mean, it's been a blast. And I just hit the 10-year mark. I've done 8 events and have raised over $160,000 back and donated that to family support programs and childhood cancer research programs in my area. And
that is amazing. So we want pictures to put in the show notes.
Oh, okay, I get some good ones.
Thrilled about that. But I mean, how fabulous to figure out how to take something that is a heavy topic and make it fun.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that can help us just multiply our message and bring it out more. Like, bring that fun side of you and bring the, you know, things should just be fun is my thing. Yeah.
So tell me about some of the struggles you've had in your business, the worst day, or just something that's happened that you're kind of like, I don't know how to recover from this one.
Oh, that's a lot. Okay. I don't know if I can name like the exact day or the worst day. I've had a few. So I would say one thing is not figuring out who I was. I was listening to too many different people telling me too many different things because I'm a course junkie. Like I want to fast track. So I would buy every single course. Everybody's telling me everything. I didn't know who I was in business first, which I feel like I'm finally now just figuring out, and it's been 2006, yeah. 12 years later. But really, I put together this course, and I put together the course without even trying to find out what my audience wants, but my goal always had been to figure out, I wanted to put a course together and have people buy it. Yeah. Crickets. Nobody bought. I had some people I did a webinar first because that's what I was told, which it does work for a lot of people, but I hadn't figured out who I was yet or my messaging. So that was kind of, and I did that twice, did that a couple of different times. So I think one of the biggest things was not trying to figure out who I was or what I wanted first. I just went at it.
Yeah.
But again, at the same time, I don't think that's horrible because imperfect action is still action.
Yep, I completely agree, but I will tell you that every person that I talk to that launched something to pure crickets, it's normally because they didn't have their identity nailed down yet, and they didn't know exactly who they were speaking to and what the messaging was there. And I think it was Amy Porterfield that once said at a live event a few years ago that the riches are in the niches. Yes. And that the more we try to speak to everyone, the less we're actually speaking to anyone. And, you know, that's the thing, is that the more you really drill down that message and you know exactly who your ideal client is, what their biggest pain points are, how you help them, what the benefits are to them, and what they look like after your services, when you can describe all those things, it's way different than saying, hey, I'm Tanya or I'm Amy and I do this, buy my stuff.
Right. I did. I created, I know you want it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's so true. Because I never sat down and figured out who my core audience was. I thought it was parents. I'm like, every mom's going to want this. No, they didn't. And they didn't want it in the format I did it in. So
I love it.
Yeah, you know me, how many events we've been at together where every time I stand up to say who I am and what I do, I'm like, please don't ask me what I do. And I'm a mess. I have no messaging. I don't know who it is or what I'm going for. So I think really sitting down and taking that time to do that is one of the very first things to do.
But one thing that I do know about you is that you've spent a lot of time and effort on that messaging. So now tell us, who are you? What do you do? And how did you make that transition to know that? Because I know there's someone that's been really instrumental in helping you come to all of this.
Mm-hmm. So I should name names? Okay. Okay, so my name is Tonya Harris, and I am an environmental toxicity specialist, and I help parents discover the toxins in their home affecting their family's health, but I help them do it one product at a time. I love it. No more overwhelm, no more mom guilt, no nothing. So showing how quick and easy and it can be. My old message was a little more fear-mongering and a lot of people really misconstrued what I do. So, but I've been working, especially with Chris Winfield, I think in the last year, and I did a VIP day with him in New York. And this was also one of the biggest things that he said that, well, there's been quite a few, but he was looking at my programs and my services and he's like, kind of like, what is this? And I was talking to him and I was like, I kind of didn't feel comfortable selling them because I wasn't comfortable with my message. So he was the first one that really gave me permission to, like, if you don't want to sell these, don't sell these. I was like, what? So we worked on my messaging, and instead of me just saying, I'm going to tell you what to take out of your homes, we discussed I'm going to be the bridge between the people who take it too far and the people who don't want to hear the information at all. So
sure.
Just kind of that common ground in the middle, because it takes the pressure off being perfect, because I'm like, I'm not perfect. I can burn water. I've made chicken chips accidentally because I can't cook and leave my chicken in too long. So if I can do it, anybody can. So I want it to be more mainstream and more approachable. So that messaging feels so much better to me. But at the same time, I was actually given permission, and now when I look at my business, I just keep thinking, does this make me happy? Is this what I want to be doing? And I kind of realize, like, what freedom there is now, knowing that I can just follow what makes me happy right now. And I think that'll rub off on the whole entire business as a whole.
It's funny that you say that, because I think when we're in the online space in particular, or like coaching and consulting, we've all been told you need an online program, you need a membership site, you needed this, you needed that. And eventually you look and you're like, ugh, I've just built this business that I hate. Or I don't want to service this particular client, or I don't want to service this product or program anymore. And there is a tremendous amount of power in us growing up and saying, this might have served me 2 years ago, but if I don't enjoy it anymore, I don't care if it's wildly successful. We don't have to do it. And that's the best thing about being our own boss, is that if you don't want to do something, you don't have to.
No. And I agree with that completely. And plus, I was kind of paralyzed by funnels. So when I was paralyzed by funnels and this and that and hearing all these things, I'm like, I don't know how to do them. And I try to work with someone and I try this and I try that. It's like, oh, they just didn't work. So then I just wouldn't do anything. Right. And that's not good for my business. But I think the biggest thing I've learned in the past year with, working with Todd Herman and Chris Winfield both, it's just such a good balance of everything that's been brought into my business. But one of the main things is just serving first. I think that the way I've made connections in the last year and how I treat them, not that I would treat them bad, but a business relationship is a little bit different. But it's about serving others. It's about serving your connections you have, your audience, even your family, everyone. So it's just, I think now that I'm more in alignment with that and who I really am, I guess my biggest advice for somebody would be kind of start there, because your business can only grow when you think about serving first.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that is the premise of your business is now slightly greener, correct?
Yep, that's it.
And that is kind of what you just described, that we don't have to be all or nothing. Because for me to go and remove every chemical out of my home, you can see that I have a candle sitting behind me. And it's a wax candle, and it emits things that shouldn't be in my air, but guess what? I'm going to use it. You know, we switched a couple years ago to pure coconut oil in terms of our lotion. And we actually had to go back to regular lotion recently because I felt like here in Vegas, the coconut oil wasn't doing anything. It was great for like 10 minutes. And then it was all soaked into my skin. And I'm like, I'm dry and I'm miserable. So tell me, how is it that you are helping people find how to be slightly greener?
Well, for instance, your candle, because I am a former candle lover. Well, still am. I can't say former.
Sure.
Especially during fall with the fall scents. So for me, I would say don't toss that candle. If you really love that candle, you can save it for special occasions. And, you know, there's safer brands of candles you can buy. You can use essential oils and diffusers, which I now, life-changing, is all over my house. Salt lamps, you can see that. I've got 5 down here. So there's different ways to do it. But again, I wear toxic mascara for stuff like this. Right. So for everyday use, I either wear no mascara or I have that safer brand. But I really think that if you can replace your 1 or 2 most toxic products and most used toxic products with a safer brand for a majority of the time, the small steps can have a big impact on your family's health. So I like to say I can take you pretty darn green with the information I give.
Sure.
But I also think it's kind of a choose your own adventure, because I think the second you tell someone they can't have something ever again, they're just going to rebel against that. Like if anybody told me I can't ever have my mascara again, I'm like, oh, then I don't want this lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's about deprivation, and it's not. It's about balance, and it's about, you know, finding out if you have certain health conditions. Yeah, you have to be a little stricter. But I believe in like the 80-20 rule. I think it applies to so many things, including this. If you can buy things 80% of the time that are safer, the 20% of the time you don't have to worry if you're outside your home and, you know, you're around things that maybe you don't want to be around in your own home, then you don't have to worry so much.
Sure. So tell me about the salt lamp, because I don't know what the salt lamps are for.
Okay, well, that one's not lit because it looked funny on TV on camera, but they're just good air purifiers, and I've just read a lot of things. Some people say yes, some people say no, but I'm like, if anything, they're pretty. If they do what they say they do, then I love them. But they're good for like electromagnetic fields, so I have a huge one right here. I have a gigantic one over by my fireplace, by my DVR. They can help with allergens, so the way they work, I can't pull the science right out of my head, but they can actually help take some of those air molecules, and then they can drop them to the floor where they're easily vacuumed, or they can neutralize them.
Wow.
So, yeah. So if they can do a quarter of what I've read they can do, I'm happy.
Well, and they're gorgeous. I mean, they always put such a beautiful light out.
Yeah. And I took a picture last night. I was going to post on my Facebook page, like, yeah, people say I have a salt lamp problem. I probably do, because my whole downstairs was just lit up orange. I shut all the lights off. But it's so pretty.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So tell me, what is your secret sauce? What do you do differently than everyone else in your industry?
Oh, well, I think one of the things I like to do is add a little humor into the situation. So, yeah, sometimes I put T-Rexes in my videos because I think anything a T-Rex does is funny. It made me I don't know, but I do. I have 3 T-Rex costumes sitting behind me. But, you know, again, because I have so many friends that tell me, you know, like, well, I don't want the information. So I think if we can add a little humor, first of all, it's going to grab attention, but second of all, it's going to keep it. Yeah. Whether or not you do what I say or take anything I say with a grain of salt, you know, I like to add a little humor. I think my education too, because I've spent a lot of years, I think, I mean, I went back to get my master's degree board certified. I've got multiple certificates in the environmental health field. So I think that too, but I think the biggest thing I do differently is just trying to bring a little humor to a downer situation that can be.
Sure. And a lot of times you're helping parents that have some significant challenges with their kids. So, I mean, this is often, I won't say last effort or life or death, but it's often a case of it's dramatically affecting an entire family's quality of life if they don't have resources to help.
Right. And I think it's the missing piece too, because a lot of people know they should use safer products or have more non-toxic home, but you're right. It usually does take some sort of health or medical thing before they realize like, oh, now I've got to do this too.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And I think that we can all look around and see the incidence of cancer and all of the other strange things that are happening to our bodies and in our environments, that there's a lot of factors that are contributing to those.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what is the number one resource that you think has really helped your business? If a woman was struggling in her business, what is the first thing you would suggest that she do?
Oh, that's a hard one. The first resource I would, what has helped me the most?
It can be an online course. It can be a person. It can be whatever.
Okay. I started out with Amy Porterfield.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's got a lot of amazing things that could probably shave a lot of time off. I wish I would have found her sooner. So especially, her podcast just gives so much information, good for starting out. And I think that's a great one.
I love her podcast. We'll actually link it in the show notes. It's Online Marketing Made Easy. And I will tell you that when I'm in the car for long trips, that's actually one of the things that I will often put on. And a lot of times I know a lot of the information that she's covering, but the thing about Amy is she's so warm and she's so relatable and easy to listen to that she does a really good job taking very complicated content and making it feel super actionable.
Yes.
So I completely agree. So what one piece of advice would you give someone that was launching or growing a business?
Patience is probably one of the first things. Mm-hmm. I'm the type of person who wants it now, and that didn't happen. And I think that made me more frustrated. Mm-hmm. But I think it all does come back to figure out who you want to serve, how you want to serve them. And I really think you have to know yourself in your business first, and be authentic. That's another thing, is people want that authenticity. I think that's probably, the second behind patience is I thought I had to be this prim and proper, talk on a webinar, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, I just let it all pretty much fly. But I think authenticity, because I think that's another thing that can really set people apart. And, I love that saying about no one is youer than you, or whatever that is. Mm-hmm. There's going to be people who are going to flock to you for that. So being authentic is probably one of the best things, because people can tell when you're not, but when you are, that's when you can really attract your audience.
Well, that's like today I said, no hair, no makeup. I'm a total mess. The morning started with husband in the hospital and everything. And we're like, no, there's still work that has to get done. And that's totally fine. And honestly, I feel like we all much prefer to see people a little bit more in their real environment. That's why supposedly Instagram and Facebook Live have done so well, is that rather than having these super scripted, highly produced videos, everyone's just showing up as they are, and they're giving good content, or they're talking about something in a very real way instead of it being super, super prim.
Oh yeah. And I was really surprised, full disclosure here, since, we're just talking. Yeah. I did a video not too long ago too, because I was like, okay, I'm traveling all over. You see my, I haven't announced this, hair extensions. Mm-hmm. I'm going to a photo shoot and this and that, but I did this video on, everything looks great, but I am a nutritionist who, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm a nutritionist who's 40 pounds overweight. And I was worried. I said, but here's the lessons I've learned, because I was stress eating. I had 6 surgeries a few years ago. And after that is when I put on my weight. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the cobbler's kids have no shoes. I could tell somebody else how to lose the weight or whatever. But it's like, for me, with my stress, with my business, which I've also learned is like, there shouldn't be as much stress in your business. We don't need to put all this pressure on ourselves. And I was afraid I was going to lose my credibility to my audience. But I was like, I kind of want you to know the real me behind me, because I'm not as perfect as what it comes across on camera. I'm not this woman with no toxins in the home, with perfect children, the perfect body, the perfect whatever, none of it. And I had so many private messages saying, thank you. And oh my God. And, you became more credible in my eyes. Mm-hmm. So I think, because they're like, you can't do this stuff if you haven't walked the walk, so I was never overweight. I could eat whatever I wanted, and I was, until these surgeries happened. And now I'm like, okay, stress eating is real. There's nothing that ice cream can't solve in that 10 minutes, until you gain your weight. But I guess that goes back to authenticity too, is don't be afraid to share the behind the scenes stuff. Because I think that's what people cling to, because if they see this cardboard cutout online who just looks like everything's too perfect, they feel like they can't measure up to that, and they just don't want to. So I think it's another thing of show the bad stuff too on your, not just the highlight reels on those social media things.
Well, that was the whole purpose of the podcast as a whole, was that it basically came from me chatting with a woman business owner who was a friend, and us talking about, she'd been going through some things, and she's like, I really would love just like some video that was like chicken soup for the soul of all of these little stories of, some of the struggles that people went through. And the thing about a chicken soup for the soul is every story ends happy, and there's always a moral to the story or a happy ending in it. But it's a case of us just seeing that as women, we're often trying to show up and look like we have it all together, when internally we're like, I hope she likes me. I hope that I don't make a fool out of myself. I hope that when they ask me what I do, I don't fumble all over my words to make it look like I don't know what I do, or all of those things. And one of the things that we did recently in base camp with Todd Herman was, I said to him, I have this big speaking engagement, and one of my biggest fears is public speaking. And he said, well, you need to go and take an improv class. And you took that advice and you went and did it.
I did.
And, it's hard sometimes when we've built successful businesses to say, I'm afraid of this. I mean, literally, my hands shake, my blood rushes to my head, and I'm all red, and I get nervous, and my knees knock.
Yes.
It's all of those things, but honestly, we all have those things that we struggle with or that we're afraid of. And I just think it's so important that we put it out there. So tell me, Tanya, where can everyone find you?
At slightlygreener.com. My website is actually being redesigned right now, so I'm super excited about that. And on Facebook, I'm Tonya Harris, MSHN is how you find my page there. And I do like to do a lot of Facebook Lives and a lot of stuff there. So that's probably for now the best place to find me.
Awesome. Well, we'll link everything in the show notes, but thank you so much for your time. This was fun as always. I do wish we were sitting in a hotel in New York with a great glass of wine instead of chatting over a computer, but it was still lovely.
Yes, I love this. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
In today's episode, we talked about masterminds and mentors. So if you would like our free checklist on questions to ask before joining a mastermind, please go to the show notes at lemonadepodcast.com.
Thank you for listening to Turning Lemons into Lemonade, where women go for support and encouragement to hear how other women business owners turn their setbacks into successes to create 6- and 7-figure businesses. We look forward to seeing you next week.